What's up, fellow developers? Today let's take a look at creating a furniture shop UI design. This would be the design that we'll be creating. Let us first break the home page. Over here we have an app bar and we have a search bar. This would be a scrollable area which will have its axis on horizontal axis, and we have different products to be listed, and we have a show more button. So let's get started. I have an empty project here. We'll remove the unwanted lines of code. I'll get rid of the debug tag. And then let us create an asset folder. I already have the images and the font. I'm importing those assets into the asset folder. Once that is done, let's add them into the pubspec.yaml file. And then let's import the font. Okay. Now let's create a scaffold. Now let us create a style scheme document. Over here I'll be defining the color and the shadow that's in here. We'll add these styles in the style scheme document. Let us import material.dart. Now this would be the background color. Let us import the style scheme here, and then we can use the background color. Once that is done, let us create the app bar first. If you can notice, the app bar has got some padding on the left and right. So let us create the app bar inside the body of the scaffold. I'll first create a column. In that I'll add the app bar. Once this app bar is created, we'll have the blue color. I'll get rid of that color first. We'll make the elevation as 0. And now let us create the first back button. I'm giving a margin because I want the border to be displayed. There's a shadow on the right and bottom part, so I'm giving a margin of 5 so that is displayed properly. Let's assume a height 50 and width also to be 50 since it's a square button. And then let us create a decoration. We'll define a style here in the style scheme document. This should return a box decoration. We'll have a border radius. This border radius would be different for different buttons. The border radius of this button and the search bar here are different. So let us create a new function for that. Which would return the border radius. Let us say if the edge is all sides, then the border radius should be radius.circular 17. And then if you notice, there are two more types of border radius. One is aligned to the right and one is aligned to the left side. So we'll create two more styles. Left, and over here let us return a border radius only on the left side and the bottom part. At the top left, it would be bigger, and bottom right 50. Now for the right side, top right radius.circular 50, and then bottom left again 50. Now this would give us a border radius. Since I have passed all here, it should give me a border radius. And then let us define the color. It should be white. And then we need a shadow. Box shadow of color and then its offset, because it needs to be on the right side and a little bit bottom. So 3 towards the x-axis and 3 towards the y-axis. If you can notice, we have the shadow and a square button. Now let's get back to the button area. Now here we need a back button, so I'll give it a center widget. Its child should be an icon, arrow back iOS, and then let's define the color as black. I'll keep the size as 20. Good. Now let us define the actions widget that will also have similar button. I'll just take a copy of this and then this would have a shopping cart and a menu icon. Let us give it a little bit of spacing. I'll add a sized box in between with a width of probably 20. Okay. Now we need to create the search bar. So once the Appbar part is over, let us create a container. Again, its margin, we need to add a margin for this, but let us add a margin vertically for this space, and this space at the bottom. I'm giving it a height of 60, and then decoration, again it has been defined already in the style scheme, so the direction would be right. If you can notice, we have a search bar here. Then let us create a child. Let's create a container. We'll give it a padding because I want to add the search icon and a input field. Let us create a padding horizontally. And then let's add a child, which would be a row. Let's first add an icon for the search. And I'll keep the size as 36. Now after this icon we need a space between the icon and the text field. I'm adding a sized box with 10, and then I'll create an expanded widget with the child as text field. I want the style with font size about 22, and then if you can notice, we have an underline here which I'll be removing. Let us try adding an input decoration, and then I'll define the border as input border dot none, so we can get rid of the underline here. Okay, let us add an hint text which should say search. Now good. Again, its size should be 22. Okay, now we have the search bar. Now let us create this title on the top. So for that, let us add a scroll view. I'm adding a single child scroll view, and then the scroll direction would be horizontal. Now its child would be a row, and then I'll create a category widget. Now we have all, chair, and then sofa. That needs to be clickable, so I'll return an inkwell widget. It would receive a parameter as title. It would return an inkwell, and on that, on tab, let us define that later. Its child would be a container, and then I would give it a margin of 5 on the right and bottom. Let's give it a height of 50, a width of 150, and then for the decoration we already have the container style. Again, it would be in the right direction. I'm sorry. It needs to be outside the row. If you notice, we have a set of widgets here. We need to add the title to those widgets. But before that, we need to add a border for the one which is already selected. So let's try and add that. I'm giving it a width of 2, and then we need to add the child. I'll create a center widget with child text that would display the title. I'll style it. Size would be 20. I'll give it a font weight of 500. Okay, now only the selected widget needs to be having a border, so let us try adding a string here which would say selected category. At the start it should be all. Now over here let us add a condition. If the title is same as selected category, then the border would be this, or it would be null. Now if you notice, only all has been selected. Now I want to change this selection. If I click on a button, let us add on tab here. I'll write a function as select category. Let us pass the title as the parameter. Void let us update the selected category and then set state. Now if you notice that when we select a widget, that will be selected and the border is replaced. Good. Now below the single child scroll view, let us create an expanded widget which will again have a single child scroll view. Each child will have a column. Now if you notice this design, we have a big column of products over here. If you notice that this has been added in a row, and this is another row with just one element, and this is another row with two elements. So let us first break this into parts. This will have one row and two columns. Let us try creating that now. Now since that is going to be exactly half, I'll define the width to be half of the device. Now since I have a margin on the left and right, I'll subtract that margin. And then I'll create a column for the left side. Now here I'll create a product widget. This would be the shadow, the alignment of the style as right, and then this would be the name of the image that I'll import, and then this would be the name of the product. Now, considering this part alone, I am calculating this to be as one block. So if I write 2, it will create a block twice the size. If I write 3, then it will create a block thrice its size. That is how it is coded. So I have given a value of 2 here. Now let us define the product widget. The first one was the alignment, the alignment for the border, so that I'll write it as side. Second one was the image. Third one was the name of the product. And the fourth one was its price. And the last one was the multiplier value. Now this would return a container. Again, it will have a margin. I'll give it a padding vertically first, because vertically it has a good margin, this part, and then horizontally it would be lesser. Now I'll define the height. So since I told you I'll consider this to be single block, I've given the block's height as 120, and then I'll multiply it with the height multiplier. Decoration, again we have the container style decoration, and then over here let us pass the parameter side. Now let us see how that looks. If you can notice that this has created a block with twice the size of the block that I've defined here. And then let us create a child with an inkwell, which would actually open up a page for us for each product. For now, we'll just leave the onTab function here. It will have a column. Now if you notice that this part has a spacing at the bottom, and I am creating an expanded widget in which this product will be centered and aligned to the size of that expanded widget. So let us create that. I'll first create an expanded widget, and then I'll create a container, decoration, box decoration, image, decoration image, and then let us import the asset. Now we already have received the image name. I've written img.png. Now if you notice that this product has been centered and an expanded widget has been created. Now I want the name and the price to be displayed just below the image. And just below the expanded widget, I am giving a sized box of height 10. Let us create a text which would display the name, color to be gray, and then size I'll give it a 17. Now let us create a text for the price. Now if you notice that since I've added the text and the price, the product, it will automatically be adjusted on the top because it's inside an expanded widget. Now let us create products of other items. Now just below this we'll add a left aligned widget. This is the product's image name. I let it the price. Now that will be a bit longer, so I'm giving it as a height multiplier of 3. If you notice that it has created a widget with thrice the size that was already defined. Now let's create another container on the right side. So I'll just take a copy of this container and let us change the alignment. and then I'll change the image name. Now if you notice that we have created the first row, this part. Now we can add a new row and then add this sofa here. Just below the row, let us create another row. With a container. The width of this container would be full screen, so let us add size.width -30, and then its child is again going to be a product widget. Okay, now again we need to create a row with 2 columns as we have done here. So I'll take a copy of this row. We don't need a column here. Similarly over here. Now this is the name of the product, this is the price, and this will be the size. Again, the product on the right side will have the same size as the left. Okay, that looks great. Now let's create the show more button. Just below the expanded widget, I'll create a container. Height 60. I'll give it a margin. Now this is again right aligned. I've given it as right. Now I want the color to be black, so I'll just copy it with black color. Let's see what happens. Great. Now I give a child for this with the center widget. Then we'll add a text. Show. Let us style this text. Color would be white. Let us increase the size. Great. Next, let us create the product page. Let us write the navigation part. Open product page. Let us define the route here. Let us create a new document. I'll import material.dart. Let us create a stateless widget. Now let us import the product page document here. Now if I click on any of the products, it has to go to the product page. Now let us create a stateful widget. Let us add a scaffold. Let us also import the style scheme document here. Background color should be BG color as defined in the scheme document. Let us create a body. Let us give a padding of 15 on the horizontal axis. I'll create a column widget. Now this will have the same app bar as of the first page, so I'll just copy it from main document. Okay. Now after that, let us have a little bit of spacing. I'll add a sized box with height 10, and then let us create a row. If you notice that this part we'll create as a row and we'll have two columns. So we'll add the product here and then the color schemes on the right side. Now for the container on the left side, let us create a container. Let's give it a margin at the bottom and right side. I'll give it a height of 250, and then width should be something around 70% of that of the document. So I'll give it as So I start with into 0.7. Let us write the decoration. It is already there in container style. Now it will have rounded edges on all sides, so I'll give it all. Now let us see. If you can notice, the document has created a container with some borders on the bottom and the right side. Now let us add a child container. Let us give that a margin on all sides. Now let us import the image. Now if you notice, I have two folders. One is blue sofa and the red sofa, so I'll add blue sofa first. And then I have images as 1, 2, 3, 4 in both the folders. So for now, let us import the first image. Okay. Now once that part is done, we'll add a container on the right side, same height as that of the container on the left. Let us give it a padding of vertical axis 15. This is again going to be around 15% of that of the width of the document, so I'll write as width into 0.15. Let us give it a margin on the bottom and right side again, and then let us add the decoration. This will be left aligned. If you notice that we have a container here. Now let us add a alignment, main axis alignment. Let us space it between. Okay. Now let us add the color schemes here. Column, space around. Now we have 4 colors, and now let us edit those colors as well. And then let us define the color widget here. It would return a container. Let us say the height to be 35 and width also to be 35. Now let us add a box decoration. The shape would be circle, and then it will have a border. For now, let us say the color is the same as that of the color that we have received as a parameter. If you notice that we have got a border for all the containers. Now let us add a child. That will be a center widget. Now this should be clickable, so I'll create an inkwell here. Let us add an on tap event. Its child would be a container. The height of this container would be 25 and width also to be 25. Decoration, box decoration, shape is again circle. This time color would be now. Let us create the current color selection. So let me first add a color variable. I'll give it as current color. It should be same as that of the blue color here, so I'll copy this. Now let us edit this part. If current color equals color name, let us give it here in the color. Current color equals color name, then it would be same as the color received as the parameter, or else it is going to be transparent. Now if you notice, the border has been removed from these colors, which is not the current color. Now we need to change the color on the click of this color schemes. So let us add a function. Let us create a function change color, or let us create this set current color. This will also receive a parameter as color. Now we'll edit the current color to be same as the color name, and then let us set state. Now let's see what happens. I'm sorry. Over here we'll write set color to color name. Now let us see. Sorry. If you notice, we can change the colors now. Now the images are derived from the blue sofa folder. So let us add the elements just below the main product. Now below the row, I'll create a sized box of height 15, and then let's create a container. The width should be same as that of the document. And then the products should be added in a scrollable area. So I'll give it a single child scroll view, and then the scroll direction is going to be horizontal. Let's give a row. Now let's add the product widget. Now again we have 4 images. Now let us define the product widget here. That should also be clickable, so I am returning a inkwell widget. Let us add a container. The height of the container would be 100. width 130. Let us add a margin. It is again going to be on all sides. Now let us copy it with design for the border. Now we have these containers here. Let us import images into these containers. I'll add a center widget. Let us add a container. Let us give it a height of 80 and width of 120. Decoration image. Now we have already received the image, so I'll write it as $img.png. Now we have all the images in place. I want only the first one to be selected, so let us create a variable saying which one is selected. Let us add a current chair variable. That would be the first one, so I'll write it as 1. Now over here, for the color, we'll add current chair equals img, then it would be of this color, else it should be transparent. Now if you notice that only the first one is selected, and then let us add a function for changing the current chair. Let us edit the current chair and then set its state. If you notice that we are able to change the current selection. Now upon this selection we need the product displayed here to be changed. So let us add a variable for this one, or we can probably just edit it as current chair. Let us if you notice that if we select the product, the image on the top will also be changed. Now for example, if we want the color to be changed as red, then we'll add a different variable. Now this will be the name of the folder which I have created here. So for now it will be blue sofa. Now when the color, when this part is selected, we need to change the color of this variable. Let us go to the function. Over here, let us add if color name is the same as the red one. Then the sofa color would be red sofa, else sofa color will be blue. And then over here, instead of blue sofa, we'll add that variable. Sofa color. Let us add the same for the product on the top as well. Automatically fetch images from the red sofa folder. Once that part is done, let us add these containers and the text and the button. I shall add a sized box of height 15. Let us create a row. I shall create a container. Let us add a margin. Bottom 5 and right also 5. I'll give it a padding. It needs a vertical padding of around 20. I'll set the height to 200 and width would be again the same as the container here. So I'll write media query dot of context dot size dot width into 0.7. Now let us add the decoration. It will be left aligned. Okay. Let's add a child column. Let's add the name of the product. Font weight is 700. And then we need some stars for the star rating that is displayed here. So let us add a row first. I'll give it a color yellow. Now let us give a small spacing between these stars, so I'll add a sized box of width 5. I'll copy this 4 times and the last one would be gray in color. Now we need to add a text. This would display the price of the product. Now let's add the increment and decrement part. Height will again be 200. Let's add a padding. The width is again 15% as of that of the document, so I'm giving it as width into 0.15. Now let's add a margin, bottom 5 and right 5. Decoration, container style. Now this time it needs to be left. Let's add a child, column widget. Now we'll have 3 containers. Container of height 50, width also 50, and a child with center widget. Let us add a minus symbol here. Now we'll add the number displayed. For that we'll first add a container of height 40, width also to be 40, decoration, box decoration, color would be gray in color, and the shape should be circle. Okay, now we need to add a child to this container. Let's add a center widget. Let us add the text saying 1. Okay, now let us add the increment, the plus symbol. Okay. After this we need to create a text part, and I'll give it an expanded widget. After the row, let us add an expanded widget, and the child would be center widget. Now we'll add a text. Let us style that. Let us make that as center line. Now let us add the button. Just below the expanded widget, let us create a container. This is again right aligned. And then let us copy this with the color black. Great. Now let us add a child. And then let us add a text saying add to cart. Let us also give it a little bit of spacing between these icon and the text. Let us add a sized box. Perfect. Now if we want to navigate back to the home page, let us import the main.dart, and then I'll define the root. Over here let us import my app. Just define go to home page. Now let us let us add go to home page in the back button. So we'll go to the app bar first. Over here in the back button, let us create an inkwell widget. So that's it for today. Hope you like the video. Please like and subscribe.